Good evening, it's Christina with another tutorial for the Photography for Beginners editing group. This image is from Melanie, and she asked how we can clone out this chair. And the top part of the chair is pretty easy, where it's over the wall, but it's down here on the floor where it gets a little bit tricky. So I'm just going to show how I would handle an edit like this. So I brought this into Photoshop, and you'll notice I did crop the image right away, just because the floor wasn't wide enough anyway. So I didn't want to clone anything unnecessarily, so I did crop the image in a little. And what I'm going to do is zoom in a bit to make this a bit easier. This is the area that I'm going to worry about first. And sorry, Jan, I am going to use the pen tool for this because it's just so good at what it does. I'm selecting a little bit further than I actually need, simply because I want to be able to blend this when I'm done, and having a little bit extra helps. And then I'll just take it right out off of here. And all I'm really doing is defining where I want the clone to go so that I don't have to worry when I get up here to the edge about trying to clone up to the edge but not going over it. Before, when I used the pen tool to make a selection, I always had the feather radius at 0 so that I got a super sharp line. The problem with that here is that this line isn't super sharp because it's intentionally blurred. It's not where the focus fell in the image. And if I have a super sharp line over here, you're going to be able to know that I did something. So I'm going to feather that, and that just means I'm going to soften the edge. I'm going to try 2 pixels and see how that goes. So now that I've got my selection, I'm going to do my cloning onto a new layer, and that will allow me to blend any edges when I'm done, because I can just mask them off of the bottom. And I'll pick my clone tool, make sure that you're at 100% opacity, and that sample all layers is selected. Now the trick with these lines is there's really not a trick at all, actually. It's not very hard to do this. What you want to do, though, is to make sure that before you start, your circle is over the line that's in question. And then I'll hit Alt and click. And before I make my first click, you can see it's going to show me what's going to fall in that area. So all I have to do is make sure that I line that up before I start. And it's just going to continue the line up for me. And I'll just stop before I hit that next line. You can see the limitation in the clone tool is that when I reach the part that I'm cloning out, it will copy it if I keep going. So that's why when you're cloning, you always go back and resample a good area again. There we go. So I'll just go up here and keep going. And as you can see, I don't have to be careful when I hit that line up there. There we go. And I'm just going to keep on cloning. And it does take a bit of time to really blend all of this cloning in. You can see it leaves little marks. And I don't have time in a 10-minute video, I don't believe, to really get the flawless look. It comes from time and practice. I'll see if I can get one area to look good for you so you see how I do it, but then it would be up to you to kind of continue that, because you can see right now it looks pretty messy. Over here, I'm just going to carry this line up again, and just line it up as good as you can before you make that first click. So now to kind of cover in all of this, I'm going to lower the opacity down to, I don't know, 50, 60, something in that area. I'll just pick a good part of the wood here, slightly larger brush. And I'm just going to kind of clone in there. And it's just going to cover up. I mean, my lines are pretty good, but it's just the larger brush is going to make all of the transitions a lot less noticeable. And now that the chair is out of my way, I can use a larger brush to do this. So then I end up with something that's much more believable to look at. And lowering the opacity just keeps me from having hard edges. because you get a much better look if you do 3 or 4 clicks than if you just do one. There we go. So that's one almost convincing floorboard done. And you can zoom right in and just get a much smaller brush and get even closer to those lines. So you can see it's not that it's hard to do, it is time consuming though. Let's go down the other side of the line here and do the same over here. Zooming in really is the key when it comes to trying to do fine work like this. So when I zoom out, I do have one really awesome floorboard. It didn't go up over here onto the baseboard at all. And you would just do the exact same thing over the rest of it until you've got it all blended really well like this. Now for the chair, because I've already got my selection here, I may as well leave it. And I'll just put this one on a new layer as well. And I'm going to invert the selection. So now I'm not going to get the part of the floor that I did. I think I will move it up just a pixel, just to get past that feathered edge, or maybe I won't. Put my opacity back up to 100. And for this I don't have to be quite so finicky. I'll just make my brush a bit bigger again. And I'm going to make sure that the top of the baseboard is within my circle. And I'm just going to make sure that I line that up as well. And you see I don't have to worry about the baseboard, or about the floor that I cloned. And every time I run back into that chair, I just have to resample. Any areas on the wall here that it's cloning over that I don't want, I'm just going to get rid of them and keep going. And pretty soon I'll have this whole thing covered up. And trying to rush is really tricky here. I am trying to hurry for the sake of my 10-minute time limit that I've got. Oops. There we go. And then back down here to the baseboard again just to finish this part off. And then again, when you get in here to these areas where you've got the difference in the shadow, I'm just going to lower the opacity to probably around 20. 20 is usually my favorite for blending in shadowy areas. I'm just going to pick it again and just kind of give a few clicks. And just keep clicking as needed. Softer. And I'm just avoiding the tutu there. So you can see that's how I manage the floorboard, and that's how I manage the baseboard there. And then after that, it's just a matter of cleaning up the image how you like. I can take my healing tool here and make sure that your main layer is selected. Just get rid of some of these spots on the wall. If they don't disappear after a couple of clicks, then it means you do have to clone them out. But a lot of them will just disappear for you. And the same for the seam on the wall. There we go. So I'm almost out of time, and I'm sorry that I didn't have time to completely clone away everything that I wanted to in order to show a finished image. Like I said, it is sort of finicky, so it does take time to get the look perfectly flawless, but it's certainly doable. And so hopefully that lets you know how you can tackle things like that just by being careful with your placement of the clone tool. Thank you very much for watching, and have yourselves a wonderful evening.